Welcome to Faith Fiction and Folklore, or the Try podcast, where we try our best not to F the podcast up. And today we are going to react to Gary's Animal Farm. Animal Farm, right?
Yes, Animal
Gary
Farm, the
News?
commercial. No, not Gary
Is it
News.
Gary News?
No,
Come on.
no.
Come on, do Gary News.
I
I
don't
want to
wanna
hear
do
about Merlin the Wizard.
That's a long time ago.
yeah,
Rosie O'Donnell. Well, yeah.
yeah. No, we'll leave that there.
Yeah, we'll leave that there. That's not.
Yeah, I've been trying to get Gary to do a segment of Gary News for a long
there's
time.
no way, dude.
There's no way. Like, it wouldn't make sense to anybody.
That's the idea. Is we have a segment that makes no sense to anybody.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool that they're doing Animal Farm. Is it?
It's commie filth. You know it's commie filth. I showed you the commercial. It's commie filth.
Yeah.
It's commie.
So is it a recreation of the first one?
Well, okay. So Animal Farm is.
Does it have diversity in it?
Yes, it has lots of diversity,
Ooh, fun.
lots of inclusion, lots of they, them
Bacon.
pronouns. You're not going to
Bacon.
know what to call yourself by the end of this. It's a trip. It's wonderful. So for people who don't know, Animal Farm is a novel written by George Orwell. Should be required reading by the world. But it basically is an allegory for how communism works and how the Russian Revolution worked, and how Stalin and Trotsky and Lenin all fit together, and it's a very famous work by the one and only
Puts
George
it in
Orwell.
simple terms that children can understand.
Yes, it's in simple terms that children can understand. And it explains the different classes, and every animal is a particular group, and it's a brilliant piece. It's awesome. So they decided back in the 50s they made a movie version of it, and of course it's very dark. Lots of animals die. It's very sad. Well, Andy Serkis decided to make a remake of this, and apparently it's coming out on May 1st. And it is some hot commie garbage. So I don't know how exactly to address this, because we've got all this stupid propaganda crap. But here's an article on Twitter. So this is from JJ Von Pepe. This is most unfortunate. I just learned about this a few days ago when I saw a preview for Angel Studios. That was the other thing about this story I should have mentioned. Angel Studios has bought this commie piece of crap. We need to start getting worried about Angel Studios, because that...
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
No, yeah, that makes no sense at all. So the guys that... Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Angel Studios is like with The Chosen, right?
Yeah.
The Chosen, and then they just came out with, the creators of VeggieTales?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, they just started a new thing. What's that one called? Bread. Oh, dang it, I forgot.
Take your time.
I'm gonna look it up.
All right. Well, yes, so Angel Studios is buying, because this is how bad it was. Netflix wouldn't take this. So this is Andy Serkis's pet project. It took him 10 years to make. This thing was so bad, Netflix wouldn't buy it. The guys that approved of Cuties, like the pro-pedophile Netflix, wouldn't touch Animal Farm. They wouldn't distribute it.
Just because it needed so much work?
No, because it was like, this is going too far. We're going to lose our viewers.
Oh, yeah, because it had too much truth in it, so they had to butcher it up with a bunch of diversity.
We could be nice and say that's what they thought. That's what they thought. Anyway, Angel Studios bought it. And, of course, it's a bunch of freaking commies. Huh?
Yeah. That's nuts. The Angel Studios has bought this piece of film full of communist propaganda.
Yeah, because, of course, Orwell was anti-communist. Orwell was writing against the communists. And, of course, Serkis and these Hollywood idiots are going to no, it's not communism. It's capitalism. So
they're inverting it.
Yeah, they're inverting it, because that's what communists do. In fact, Let me finish reading this tweet, then I'll read a quote from Orwell, then circle back here. So, maybe Angel Studios should have skipped this distribution deal, though I do think the message of Animal Farm is an important one. Nevertheless, I won't be paying to see this film. Well, that's the thing, is they're not actually talking about Animal Farm. They're inverting it. So, anyway, so yeah, they got the picture here. Transgender identified actor Laverne Cox to star in Angel Studios' Animal Farm. Okay, can I just make a comment here? Because I didn't pay that close attention to this tweet, apparently. So, this guy is upset about the transgender stuff. I'm like, okay, look, yeah, transgender isn't bad, but they're literally inverting the message. Like, do you really think Hollywood wants to tell the true story of Animal Farm and what it's about? But no, they're not talking about how the communists are rewriting history and rewriting novels because they want this to be the popular version of the book. No, they're not going to talk about how they're going to bury the truth of a message behind a cheap film. No, we're going to hone in on the transgender stuff because that's scandalous and going to get more attention. So I'm a little annoyed by that. So they're mad
There's
at
another one of those weird names.
Huh?
Another one of those weird names.
You're right, Laverne Cox. You're right. Illuminati confirmed. You're catching them tonight, Cody. So,
Yeah.
Good night. But yeah, I'm like, okay, yes, transgenderism bad, but that's not the worst part. The thing is, it's a pro-communism message. You see, this one's got it right. The Park Place. Tim Pool rejects Animal Farm promotion over film's pro-communist messaging. That is correct. It is intentionally inverting what Orwell was trying to do. So, in line with that, let's read this quote from Orwell. This is from 1984. Every record has been destroyed or falsified. Every book rewritten. Every picture has been repainted. Every statue and street building has been renamed. Every date has been altered. And the process is continuing day by day and minute by minute. History has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party is always right. And that's what it is. Rewrite the past. Destroy your culture.
Yep.
And that's what they're trying to do here. And they know.
George Orwell was getting it.
Yeah. Oh, he was exactly. Yeah, he knew what they were all about. And that's why he went after H.G. Wells, by the way. Because H.G. Wells was a Fabian socialist, which is kind of a cousin to this. But yeah, one of the things I found most disturbing too was the way that they frame everything going wrong. Is of course they have the Viva la Revolution moment where they kick everybody out, but based on the commercials that we've seen, of course, we can't play them because of copyright crap. Otherwise, I would show them. But there's clips in there where you've got, I think it's Glenn Close. She's playing evil corporate businesswoman. So you know what they're going to do. It's like, the revolution would have worked if the dad blame capitalists hadn't gotten involved. So, they're going to blame capitalism for everything going awry on the Animal Farm. So that's number one. And then the other thing that was really interesting. Oh, yes. MPV Bean says H.G. Wells versus George Orwell. Yes. You should look at. Actually, let me pull up the essay for you, good sir, because George Orwell and H.G. Wells were at odds. Give me just a moment. Let me pull up the essay for it. Essay. Yes, the essay, if you want to look it up, and I highly recommend that you do, because it is worth reading. The essay is Wells, Hitler, and the World State. Orwell argued that Wells's rationale, scientific optimism blinded him to the rising power of brutal dictatorships in the 1930s, calling him a shallow, inadequate thinker who failed to understand that modern technology could empower barbarism rather than just scientific progress. So, yes, it's a fantastic essay. I highly recommend it.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's good stuff. But anyway, so excuse me. I can't quit coughing tonight. I don't know why. I'm yelling. I'm just so happy about Pam Bondi being gone. I'm yelling. Anyway, so they're basically trying to invert Animal Farm, and the other thing that they did that I thought was really interesting, because it's a reaction. It's also reactionary. It's a reactionary video or an attempt to rewrite history because of Trump. Because I think Andy Serkis worked on Animal Farm for about 10 years. Well, what was 10 years ago? Trump. Trump was just getting in. So they have the pigs talking about, oh, us pigs, we need to stick together, pigs for pigs, and and that's how they take the whole some animals are more equal than others, and they twist it by basically saying, oh, well, nationalism is what makes people think they're better than other people. It's like, no, that wasn't what Orwell was saying. Orwell was saying that, these guys that climb to the top in the name of human equality, they become mob leaders and they think they're better than everybody else because they rose to the top. But no, we're going to blame, class, the same stuff the communists blame. The communists in Russia, they blamed like economic classes and everything. We blame race. So they tried to lean into the nationalist angle, which was awful. And it's a very awful movie. So I don't know, Trevor, did you have to read Animal Farm in school?
No, I missed that part of school, I guess.
Cody, what about you? Did you ever have to read Animal Farm?
No, I was homeschooled at that point.
Yeah, I was
Did you have to read
homeschooled as
Animal
well.
Farm?
My
My wife didn't either.
Yeah, I think my thing was Charlotte's Web. I read that one instead.
There's no allegory there. Charlotte's Web is just Charlotte's Web.
Yeah. It's another type of
Wilbur
Animal
is
Farm,
not
I
the
guess.
bourgeoisie in that film. So
Wilbur.
You ever watch it on TV?
Well, and I was wrong, by the way. What I was trying to say.
Oh, what were you trying to say?
It was the show The Dead Sea Squirrels. I thought Angel Studios picked that up, but no, it was YouTube.
Ah,
So
okay.
I was
Dead
wrong.
Sea Squirrels?
Yeah.
That's hysterical. What's it about?
Well, it's the same guys who did VeggieTales.
Yeah.
It's just kind of basically VeggieTales, but they're squirrels instead.
Yeah, but they're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like, so
Yeah.
I wonder if is there like esoteric stuff in it?
I don't know. I haven't seen any of it.
Because that's
I've
where
just
they
seen
get
an
like
ads
the
for it.
Gospel of Thomas and all that stuff, right, Gary?
I'm sorry, I'm looking on something else. What do you?
The Dead Sea Scrolls, that's where they get like the Gospel of Thomas and stuff like that.
I don't think the Gospel of Thomas is in that. You might be thinking the Sinaiticus. I don't. Let me.
Oh.
I can Google that though. Hang on.
But yeah,
or is the Gospel
Larry
of
the
Thomas?
Cucumber from VeggieTales.
Well, of course.
That same guy is one of the squirrels.
Yeah, no,
So
the Gospel of Thomas is not found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was discovered in 1945 near Hamadi, Egypt, as part of a separate collection of Gnostic texts. While the Dead Sea Scrolls contain Jewish texts from before or around the time of Jesus, the Gospel of Thomas is a 2nd century Christian text. So yeah, it was found in some Gnostic scrolls. So, okay. So I'm sorry, guys. Go on. Go on. I apologize.
I thought the Dead Sea Squirrels was picked up by Angel Studios, but I was wrong. It's on YouTube. So I just want to clarify that.
Have you watched it, Trevor?
No, I just seen the ads.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, huh, that's curious.
That's hilarious, too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I apologize. I'm trying to find the end of Animal Farm here because there's a quote at the end that's just, it gave me chills when I read it because it's what they do. It's like how they rewrite the rules by the end of it. So
how old was the other movie the first one made?
I think it was
When was?
1954. Let me see. When was the first Animal Farm made?
Because I thought they made one more recent than that.
Yeah,
Like,
1954. 1954, yeah.
is there another one that they remade besides this newest one?
I don't know if there's another one or not. It's a good question.
I mean, you got like what's that movie with the pig and the old man?
Yeah, that one.
Babe.
Oh,
That
Miss
probably is what you're
Babe.
thinking of.
that 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 is not an allegory
Gordy.
either.
No,
No, but it's like a farm movie. That might be what he's thinking of.
Yeah.
no, it was a cartoon.
1999. Sad Sons 0807 says 1999.
Animal Farm. Oh, okay, yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
All right, I'm going to try to read. I just feel like we need to read the end of Animal Farm here.
Okay,
So, just because I feel like it's appropriate since they're rewriting history, let's try to,
it is.
correct the
Correct the record. Yeah,
right. So, um, Jess is saying it's live action. So,
Yeah, it's a live action. Yeah, and it's a 1999 political comedy drama TV film directed by John Stevenson and written by Alan James.
all right. I'm going to read this all the way through, and it might be boring, but stay with me because this is important. So, one day in early summer, Squealer ordered the sheep to follow him and led them out to a piece of waste ground at the other end of the farm, which had become overgrown with birch saplings. The sheep spent the whole day there, browsing at the leaves under Squealer's supervision. In the evening, he returned to the farmhouse himself, but as it was warm weather, told the sheep to stay where they were. It ended by their remaining there for a whole week, during which time the other animals saw nothing of them. Squealer was with them for the greater part of every day. He was said teaching them to sing. He said, teaching them to sing a new song for which privacy was needed. It was just after the sheep had returned on a pleasant evening when the animals had finished work and were making their way back to the farm buildings that the terrified neighing of a horse sounded from the yard. Startled, the animals stopped in their tracks. It was Clover's voice. She neighed again, and all the animals broke into a gallop and rushed into the yard. Then they saw what Clover had seen. It was a pig walking on his hind legs. Yes, it was Squealer, a little awkwardly, as though not quite used to supporting his considerable bulk in that position. But with perfect balance, he was strolling across the yard, and a moment later, out from the door of the farmhouse came a long file of pigs, all walking on their hind legs. Some did it better than others. One or two were even a trifle unsteady and looked as though they would have liked to support of a stick. But every one of them made his way right round the yard successfully, and finally there was a tremendous baying of dogs and a shrill crowing from the black cockerel, and out came Napoleon himself, majestically upright, casting haughty glances from side to side, and with his dogs gaboling around him. He carried a whip in his trotter. There was a deadly silence. Amazed, terrified, huddling together, the animals watched the long line of pigs march slowly round the yard. It was as though the world had turned upside down. And there came a moment when the first shock had worn off, and when, in spite of everything, in spite of the terror of the dogs, and of the habit developed through long years of never complaining, never criticizing, no matter what happened, they might have uttered some word of protest. But just at that moment, as though at a signal, all the sheep burst into a tremendous bleating of, 4 legs good, 2 legs better. 4 legs good, 2 legs better. 4 legs good, 2 legs better. It went on for 5 minutes without stopping, and by the time the sheep had quieted down, the chance to utter any protest had passed, for the pigs had marched back into the farmhouse. Benjamin, felt a nose nuzzling at his shoulder. He looked round. It was Clover. Her old eyes looked dimmer than ever. Without saying anything, she tugged gently at his mane and led him round to the end of the big barn where the 7 commandments were written. For a minute or two they stood gazing at the tarred wall with its white lettering. "My sight is failing," she said finally. "Even when I was young, I could not have read what was written there. But it appears to me that wall looks different. Are the 7 commandments the same as they used to be, Benjamin?" For once, Benjamin consented to break his rule, and he read out to her what was written on the wall. There was nothing there now except a single commandment. It ran, "All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others." After that, it did not seem strange when the next day the pigs, who were supervising the work of the farm, all carried whips in their trotters. It did not seem strange to learn that the pigs had bought themselves a wireless set, were arranging to install a telephone, and had taken out subscriptions to John Bull Titbits and the Daily Mirror. It did not seem strange when Napoleon was seen strolling in the farmhouse garden with a pipe in his mouth. No, not even when the pigs took Mr. Jones's clothes out of the wardrobe and put them on. Napoleon himself appearing in a black coat, rat-catcher breeches, and leather leggings, while his favorite sow appeared in the watered silk dress of Mrs. Jones, which Mrs. Jones had been used to wear on Sundays. A week later in the afternoon, a number of dog carts drove up to the farm. The deputation of neighboring farmers had been invited to make a tour of inspection. They were shown all over the farm and expressed great admiration for everything they saw, especially the windmill. The animals were weeding the turnip field. They worked diligently, hardly raising their faces from the ground, and not knowing whether to be more frightened of the pigs or of the human visitors. That evening, loud laughter and bursts of singing came from the farmhouse, and suddenly, at the sound of the mingled voices, the animals were stricken with curiosity. What could be happening in there now that for the first time animals and human beings were meeting on terms of equality? With one accord, they began to creep as quietly as possible into the farmhouse garden. At the gate they paused, half frightened to go on, but Clover led the way in. They tiptoed up to the house, and such animals as were tall enough peered in at the dining-room window. There, round the long table, sat half a dozen farmers and half a dozen of the more eminent pigs, Napoleon himself occupying the seat of honor at the head of the table. The pigs appeared completely at ease in their chairs. The company had been enjoying a game of cards, but had broken off for a moment, evidently in order to drink a toast. A large jug was circulating, and the mugs were being refilled with beer. No one noticed the wondering faces of the animals that gazed in at the window. Mr. Pinkelton of Foxwood had stood up, his mug in his hand. In that moment he said he would ask the present company to drink a toast. But before doing so, there were a few words that he felt it incumbent upon him to say. It was a source of great satisfaction to him, he said, and he was sure to all others present, to feel that a long period of mistrust and misunderstanding had now come to an end. There had been a time, not that he or any of the present company had shared such sentiments, but there had been a time when the respected proprietors of Animal Farm had been regarded, he would not say with hostility, but perhaps with a certain measure of misgiving, by their human neighbors. Unfortunate incidents had occurred. Mistaken ideas had been current. It had been felt that the existence of a farm owned and operated by pigs was somehow abnormal and was liable to have an unsettling effect in the neighborhood. Too many farmers had assumed without due inquiry that on such a farm a spirit of license and indiscipline would prevail. They had been nervous about the effects upon their own animals or even upon their human employees. But all such doubts were now dispelled. Today he and his friends had visited Animal Farm and inspected every inch of it with their own eyes. And what did they find? Not only the most up-to-date methods, but a discipline and an orderliness which which should be an example to all farmers everywhere. He believed that he was right in saying that the lower animals on Animal Farm did more work and received less food than any animals in the country. Indeed, he and his fellow visitors today introduce on their own farms immediately. He would end his remarks, he said, by emphasizing once again the friendly feeling that subsisted and ought to subsist between Animal Farm and its neighbors. And I'm just going to go on to the last paragraph. 12 voices were shouting in anger, and they were all alike. No question now what had happened to the faces of the pigs. The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again, and already it was impossible to say which was which. Moral of the story is you become what you hate.
Yeah. MVP Beans said, I've been listening while doing stuff. I heard of Animal House. What's it again?
Animal Farm. Animal Farm. Yeah, this is by George Orwell. It's an allegory against communism. Basically, the animals throw out the bourgeoisie, or the humans, and then over time, the pigs take over everything, and they essentially become human by the end of the story. And much like the reason I started so high up is because I wanted to mention the fact that they rewrote the rules. Because originally they had 7 commandments that were about, animal equality and all this. And then by the end, it was 4 legs good, 2 legs better, and all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. So they just rewrote history, and, because the animals are stupid and couldn't think, they didn't realize the rules had been changed. So
sure sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's almost like they're de-evolving us, so we'll be too stupid to realize when they make a retarded movie instead of basing it off of a far superior book. So
yeah.
Yeah.
What's that one with Charlton Heston and the monkeys?
Planet of the Apes. Yes, they're
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, you're all supposed to be running around in loincloths, smoking.
But instead, it's Planet of the Pigs.
Planet of the Pigs, yeah. Only here's the thing: you're the monkey. They're de-evolving you. They want to turn you into an idiot wearing a loincloth, snorting crack, and living a hedonistic lifestyle. So you'll be too stupid to realize when they've changed the rules.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. Hedonism makes you an idiot. That's why they push it. So,
is that why I keep thinking of bacon and eggs?
Not even close. I'm not sure what wavelength you're on.
Well, you keep talking about pigs, then I just want bacon and eggs now.
I'm gonna have to read to you, aren't I? We gotta reverse this de-evolution process on Trevor, guys. We need to get him back up to par.
Oh, my frequency's too low. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Cody, how do we raise his frequency? Quick.
Get him some bacon and eggs.
Bacon and eggs. There we go.
Extra deep fried.
All right, yes. So Animal Farm, everybody. I highly recommend that you read Animal Farm. It is a brilliant book. I haven't worked up the nerve to read 1984, but my wife would highly recommend 1984 as well. So,
wait, what?
I have not worked up the nerve to read 1984, but Jess loves 1984. She says it's a great book.
It was a great year, too.
Who am I even talking to? Gary's never read 1984. I'm blown away.
I know I can't do it. I'm like, that's a lot of time to invest in a sad ending, man. But Jess says it's worth it, but I have read Animal Farm. So
Wild.
I guess you have. I take it you have read 1984 then.
I've listened to it, yeah.
You've listened to it? Maybe that's what I do. Maybe I listen to like 1.5 speed or something. Just get through it as fast as possible.
Maybe.
Yeah, because it's that one's, I don't know, that one's like more depressing because I guess you want the guy to live a little more by the end, but his failure is pretty complete by the end of that one.
I mean, if you, I identified with him because I was working a corporate job at the time.
Oh yeah.
And it's about being part of the system, the party,
Yeah.
And so it definitely was a little bit of a dark story for me, but
It's very dark
You're
because
kind of self-employed, so you're right.
yeah. Let's see.
Sad Sands double plus good.
Yeah, Jess would highly recommend 1984. Yes, I have to say it is worth it because it introduces the concept of an opposition party, which is one of the favorite tactics of the communists.
Yeah.
So, and then it introduces the 2 minutes of hate spiel, you know,
Yep.
which we've literally saw a knockoff of that when in Trump's first term. Remember the 90 seconds of shrieking into the sky? That was literally 2 seconds of hate. Or 2 minutes of hate. That was literally what it was. They were literally just like copying Orwell. It's insane. So, and then that's the one that's talks about the importance of getting people to spout nonsense and believe it, which is going to lead us into the next segment in a way. But yeah, like you've got to, before they can consider their victory complete, they've got to get you to say 2 + 2 = 5 or whatever it is that they say it is, and with complete conviction. You have to believe the state is right, and only then will they kill you.
Yep.
So those are important concepts to understand about authoritarianism, you know? So it's worth the read. But we're going to wrap this segment up. We got one more segment left. So, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Deuces.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.